I'm gonna press the button. I'm gonna press the button.
Oh, we're gonna press the button? Oh, we're
we
pressing the
pressed the
button.
button.
Oh, man.
Hello.
Oh, snap. We're pressing the button.
It's the button.
Yes, I see waves. I see waves. It makes me happy.
Hello.
All right. Well, I guess. Well, why? Hello. My name's Vance.
My name's Amber Cyprian.
I'm SakuraTsubasa, mostly called Saku.
Yep. And this is the intro to speedrunning panel, and all the stuff that goes along with it. So I'm gonna go right into the slideshow. And Amber, if you wanna go ahead and talk it. Also,
Absolutely.
I forgot to start recording.
Oh, I've also forgotten to start recording. It's all good.
All right. We'll just go it anyway. We can read the introduction. There we go. Yeah.
All right, so welcome to VTubing and Speedrunning, going fast in the virtual world. My name is Amber Cyprian. I'm the head marathon organizer at Fast Pace Events. I'm a variety speedrunner on Twitch, and I am also a GDQ hotfix host, and we'll get into what all that means in a bit. To my right, technically, is...
that is me. I am Fant_TV, also a Twitch partner, variety speedrunner, and also GDQ hotfix host. And I do a whole bunch of behind the scenes stuff for like all the GDQ marathons. So if you ever watched a Games Done Quick events, if not, we can explain that later. But a whole bunch of really cool speedrunners getting together, raising money for charity, and just having a good time as always. And then to my right is...
I'm SakuraTsubasa. I am a Twitch partner and professional randomizer speedrunner. I do this full time, and it's a lot of fun. And I've also been on GDQ as a host for the main marathon stuff.
Yeah, so you may have heard her voice if you've been watching, like reading the donations and all that kind of stuff. Because Saku's always recognizable there. So I feel like anybody who's watched a decent amount probably can recognize you. All right, moving on. If I have this selected, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah, for anyone who may be new to this concept, we'll cover what is speedrunning. So a speedrun is a playthrough of a video game, or it's a section of a video game, or with the goal of completing it as fast as possible, usually by any means possible. They often followed planned routes, they may incorporate what we call sequence breaking, and might exploit glitches that allow sections to be skipped or completed more quickly than intended. And some speedruns are completely glitchless. There are things called categories, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But what speedrunning is not is inherently a competition with other people. The first focus is always about self-improvement.
And so VTubing and speedrunning, what's it like? So both me and Amber host events. So we've kind of been encouraging people to come in and participate, even if they're not there in person, because like with all the stuff with like COVID and everything going online, we kind of were able to convince these big events saying, hey, we're doing this online anyway. This is like a perfect time we could get VTubers involved with everything. So in addition to hosting shows, we've had a number of people on, like doing runs in our major marathons, with their VTuber avatar. And it just makes me so happy. I love seeing it. And I think, Amber, you coined the term speedtuber.
Yes, when we were getting set up for this, I coined the term speedtuber. So I've actually run in Awesome Games Done Quick 2022. I also hosted during that the event and of like doing the donation reading and everything. And since then, that was like kind of like where I became a VTuber that was a little more noticed. I started VTubing back in November of last year, so pretty recently, all things considered. But I've had a number of people who don't watch VTubers but watch speedrunning approach me because they're interested in how to get into it. I have like a tutorial and stuff that I did live on stream just to show people how I got into VTubing through Vroid. I'm a Vroid model user, and I made everything. I made like my model myself, and the production values are mostly on my own setup, but it can be really awesome to represent yourself with, you know, your avatar while running one of your favorite games at events for really great causes, like, you know, Awesome Games Done Quick raises money for Prevent Cancer Foundation, where we raised, what was it, over 3 million this past January?
Yep, it was over 3 million. Yep.
It was, and VTubers were part of it. More on that later. There's a couple really funny instances of you know, VTubers coming on the show. We'll go over a little bit of the examples later. But yeah, it's just super cool that like we're seeing this kind of, you know, shifts, like, you know, with like the online penetrating everything and, you know, becoming more accepted. And, you know, I kind of wonder if someday, like, who's going to be the first person with the guts to like dial into an actual work call with like a VTuber avatar. I'm sure somebody's done it.
I have.
You have?
I've done that a few times, actually.
That's wonderful.
Like people who have met me for like meeting with like, cause I do marathon or charity or marathon organizing, like basically full time, as like a passion project. And I've definitely dialed into some calls with some people, that we're exploring like collaborating to like put on an event or raise money for a charity, and I've definitely dialed into that Google Meet with my VTuber camera, and I'm like, don't mind me, I'm a VTuber. This is just how I present.
I've done the same thing with my
yeah.
yeah, I've done the same thing with my merch company. So I think that's technically work, being full time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It absolutely is. Like a lot of people discredit streaming as like full time as a career choice. It most certainly is a career choice, and you know, if you are even a part time VTuber while also like doing IRL camera in the like on certain streams, that's still a work call that you've definitely dialed in with your VTuber avatar for any reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I forget what we have next up here. Oh yeah.
So we actually have some examples of VTubers in various events, and this year, this one's great. Fan can talk a lot about this one.
So if anybody who's like involved with speedrun probably knows who Spike Vegeta is, like a very energetic person, and this is one of the runners we had at AGDQ 22, Harutomo, who was from Japan. So like in addition to like allowing a whole bunch of like international representation in addition to the VTubers coming in. So we had this super interesting interview that I produced, and we just had Spike come in as like doing the real cam. Then we had Harutomo, the runner, coming in with the VTuber, and then Keishura, our translator, normally like just has like a VTuber as part of D&D, but it's like, hey, I got a VTuber. Why don't we just make everybody a VTuber except Spike? And we just went and did this interview, and like basically no sold it, like anything was off. It was just perfectly normal. We're interviewing an anime fox person from Japan with a translator and some interesting Katsumari things, because if it wasn't obvious, this was for the Katsumari run at AGDQ 2022. And afterwards,
I hosted that run. It was delightful.
Yeah, there are so many people afterwards like, dang, Spike Vegeta's model looks really, really good. Like, I want to hire that artist who made Spike's model.
Almost realistic.
It's so realistic. It's so lifelike, yeah. But we've had a number of VTubers, throughout all the events, and here's a couple where like I've been on some shows doing Geo Guesser. So that's like one of my favorites, where you got Google Maps, everything's real, my partner being an actual person, and then there's me in space with a orbiting Earth background. That's great. Amber's done a number of shows, but we have a number of VTubers, like Kyo's Little Monster there has been featured before on like our hotfix shows.
Yeah, the run that you actually see me be a part of, that is actually from an event that I co-organized with another GDQ hotfix host who is not a VTuber. But we do a yearly Sonic event, and I finally got to run in one, which was really cool. The last two I hosted in, and it was really, really fun to be able to do that. And I have like my background, which has like some memes related to the Sonic speedrun community. You might see behind my head, one of my speedrun partners that I've done a co-op run with is just kind of chilling over my fireplace in a really bad Amazon purchased Sonic costume.
Oh yeah. You
Good old
kind of see a
Arctic.
hair of it right there at the top left of that camera, but it is quite something. But we've even had like people doing 3D models. Like this is from I think the Frost Fatales event we had earlier is like an all women speedrunning events. We had PNG tubers are welcome too. Like just we really encourage like at our events like show yourself as you want to be seen. If you don't want to do a camera, you want to do an actual camera, you want to use a VTuber avatar, we fully support that, and I think that's awesome that it's kind of started to catch on and more people have tuned into it being a regular thing as VTubers become more and more popular and seen in more and more situations. Like I saw one, I think it was like one of the HoloLive people was interviewing some actors from the new Batman movie, and it's like this is great. It's so weird seeing this, but it's great that kind of thing can happen.
It makes it more accessible for people too, like being able to show yourself as your playing your favorite game the way you want to be seen is really good.
Yep. But why get into speedrunning? Amber, you want to take this one?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a number of reasons why one might want to get into speedrunning. Give me one moment. I have to yell at Google to... Oh, never mind. Google stopped playing an alarm for my partner. My partner's an overnighter. The main reason to get into speedrunning, I've been speedrunning for like 11 years now. This is my 11th year like in the community. And it really started as like just another way to replay my favorite games. My very first speed game was, believe it or not, it was Pokemon Snap 100%. I didn't stick with it very long because I didn't really understand how to route things properly yet. But the game I stuck with for 6 years and still speedrun in some form today, just kind of more casually and a little less seriously, is Sonic Adventure 2, which is like my favorite game of all time. And it's you want to like enjoy a journey to self-improvement. If you enjoy video games and there's a video game you really like and you're like, oh, I might want to try speedrunning it, going from like zero speed knowledge in that game to like getting PB after PB over time and like just challenging yourself to push farther is like one of the most satisfying reasons to get into speedrunning. It's like really fun. You can also do like community events, like, races, stuff like that. It's a lot of fun to just get other people involved as well, even if it's not just a self-contained hobby for yourself. But first and foremost, it's like a journey to self-improvement. You can compare it to like some real life sports, like golf is a very good one. Where golf can be played in solitude and you're just trying to get better at courses. And Vant knows a little bit more about sports than I do.
I could say golf and speedrunning are definitely the exact same thing, right? Because in both cases, you're trying to get your number lower.
Yes.
Exactly the same thing, right? No difference. But
yeah, it's like overall, it's fun.
Yeah, there's so many different, I'm not sure if we go in here, but there's so many different ways to approach it. And like the most important thing I want to get across, we're going to be repeating over and over during this panel, is that not everything is about going for world records, as we see here. Like that's a lot of time commitment. There's people who like speedrun full time. They spend thousands and thousands and thousands of hours. I'm not making this up. Like there's people with 5,000, 6,000 hours in a single game or more, sometimes 10,000 hours. And these are people who can either have a lot of free time or do it as their full-time job. And trying to go and compete with that to get that world record, it's a tough ask. Not everybody could put in that time, or it may not even be fun. But putting your own goals, like just maybe top 10, maybe even top 50. There's some speedruns with thousands of runners on it. Just being in the top 10%, that can be a goal. Or just having, I want to do a run that has this trick in it, and I want to pull it off. Or I want to get my time below an hour in this run. The world record may be 43 minutes, but I want to get it under an hour, and just go focus on the strats that are easier to do to accomplish that. There's always a whole bunch of adjustment you could do to the goals.
The Link to the Past, which is one of the games that I regularly play, there's hundreds upon thousands of people on the leaderboard at this point. And one of the more common goals is, just see if you can get under an hour and 30 minutes. And it's pretty, it's a pretty good goal. And, you set that goal for yourself. But I think the world record is like even between this 1 hour and 30 minutes to the world record is over 200 people between those two things. So it's not about like competing with other people. It's about, you know, one of the cool things on the left side of the screen here, you see something called live splits, which we'll get into in a little bit. But one of the cool things about this, you can see on the screen, is that little green number at the top left, which, like, when you get that, or you get it to be gold or other things like that, you're like, yes, I just bested my last time, and it feels so good.
Yeah. Seeing like your number go down, like, is what we call up there is like a green split, and it means that you did you're faster at like reaching that point in the game than you were against the last time you did it, or the personal best time that you did it in. And like Saku mentioned, gold splits, and those are the best time you've ever gotten in that segment of the game. And it's really satisfying to just see the improvement. So even if a run kind of goes off the rails and ends up not PBing, you can still see places where you did better than you ever did before. And that's like, just seeing that improvement in a tangible way is just really, really satisfying, and is one of the best reasons to get into speedrunning. And it's absolutely not all about world records, and like, you want to make speedrunning fun and personal to you, because goals can exactly be adjusted as you go. If you're like, hey, let's go for top 10, and then you realize in the game that you've gotten a little in over your head, maybe your life schedule doesn't let you commit to running the game like super like hardcore as much as you wanted to. It's like, all right, well, what about top 15 or top 20? It depends on the game. Or maybe you want to like create a category that doesn't exist yet for it. That's a thing I've done a few different times. And just kind of pioneer a game that has never been run before too. That's really cool too. But yeah, like, all you have to do to speedrunning is just like play a game you love and play it with a timer, and boom, that's a speedrun.
Yeah, yep. You find like you go through your collection of like old games that you had that, you know, maybe your parents didn't throw away if they bought you games when you were little, and it's like, what is this like random license game? You know what? I'm gonna speedrun it. I know a couple people who just like speedrun all these like weird games. It's like maybe sold like 1,000 copies, and somehow their parents managed to find it at some store, and then, all right, now I have the world record on it. There's nobody else on the leaderboard. Nobody else knows this game exists, but hey, it's fun. We're gonna go do it. But yeah, picking a game up that you like, put a timer on it. Congratulations, you're a speedrunner. That's all it takes. Oh, finding a speed game. This one, there's a lot of meats to this topic. Saki, you want to tackle?
Yeah, absolutely. So finding a speed game, basically you can, as mentioned earlier, you can speed run anything. You can, as long as the game has a definitive objective, you know, you can speed run the game. There's, you know, the most common ones are just generically beating the game as quickly as possible. There's beating the game and collecting all the items. There's beating the game with as little items as possible. One of my favorites, again, Link to the Past, because it's the one I'm most familiar with, has a fun category called Cuckoo Percent, which is, you know, it's a random category where you just try to get this one house has a chicken where you can lift up a pot. There's a chicken underneath the pot, and you can powder that chicken. You can use an item on the chicken, and it turns into a beautiful woman. And boom, once you do that, then you're done the game. And it's you know, you can pretty much, as long as you have an objective, you can pretty much run whatever game you want. If you don't have, maybe you have a favorite game and it's hours upon hours, you can just make a shorter category for it. You can set a specific goal, like once you get to this boss, you know, that's the run, you know, things like that. You don't have to play the whole game if you don't have time.
Yeah, Pokemon Blue is a good example. They have defeat Misty as a goal. Like, so the first 2 gym leaders, because that's a fair chunk of the run, you just like, you know, hey, beat Misty without glitches.
Mm-hmm. And then the runs.
There's a category that like makes me giggle every time I say it, but Super Mario Odyssey has what we call a meme category that doesn't involve beating the game at all. It involves buying the swim trunks and like the shirtless like top half of the outfit, and we call it Super Mario Odyssey nipple percent. It's literally
you gotta
buying that
unleash 'em.
outfit and putting it on as soon as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a number of people who just really love running that category because it's nice, short, and sweet, and interesting split names for it too. It's like Nipples Unleashed.
Oh, God.
Is a lot of times the final split there. Like, all right, IPB, let's go.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
really
God.
cool. Like as long as you have like an objective that you want to meet in the game, that's all that you really need. The important thing to remember is that if you are planning a speed run as a, a regular thing, you need to pick a game that you enjoy playing because you're going to put hours upon hours into the game. So, some people are make a joke like, "Oh, well, you don't want to pick a game you love too much because by the end, then it drives you crazy." But like, you really need to enjoy what you're going to be playing for many hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You don't want to pick something that you're going to get bored of in like 15 minutes. Otherwise, it's not going to be a fun time. And there's a lot of resources online that you can find for a lot of like the more popular, more common games. But even if it's an obscure game, you can play that and route the game yourself. So if you maybe you just try to beat the game as quickly as possible. Sometimes you might find a cool, neat way of beating the game a little quicker. Maybe like backstepping in Castlevania is faster than just walking normally. So like, you can find a lot of different things that, can help you route the game and build a community around it.
Yeah, like going to speedrun.com, like the example that we've used in this slide, you can tell who made the slideshow and put images in. Sonic 3D Blast was a game that like had no active community going on. And a few years ago, like 2018, I was like, I've been kind of dabbling in this game for years now, but not taking it seriously. What if I took it more seriously? And it had like no resources. So I ended up creating a lot of like level maps and routes just so people could start learning it, and basically started becoming like the community will refer to me as a cult leader, because like the next thing you knew, when I started running Sonic 3D Blast in 2018, that game went from like maybe 15 runners to like total on the leaderboard over the course of like 6 years or something, to like having an extreme amount by comparison. Like it blew up enough to where we could have a tournament last year for it, which was really, really fun, and it grew the community further. And like you can go to speedrun.com, search for any game to see if it exists first and foremost, like on the leaderboard. If it doesn't, you can request it if you are willing to take care of the boards and everything. But you could see how long runs typically are for the game, see if it's a commitment you want to make, see resources for the game if they exist, or find the game's speedrun Discord server and like find out who else runs the game, maybe reach out to them being like, hey, I'm having trouble getting into this game, or like I'm having trouble with this one part, like could you maybe help me, or like is there a resource you can point me towards, stuff like that. Like it can be really, really fun to just like go on speedrun.com and be like, I really liked this one game as a kid and I still have a copy of it. Does it exist? And you search it up, and lo and behold, the world record's like 15 minutes, and it took you like 7 hours to beat the game.
Don't be discouraged by the world record time. It's a collaborative effort that has a lot of hours from a whole bunch of different people put it in to break the game as much as possible.
Absolutely.
Oh, breaking the game can be one of the most fun parts, in my opinion.
Yeah, and that actually brings us into learning a speed game. So going back to talking about resources, you could check for tutorials. There's a lot of written tutorials that you can find like on various Google Docs that are usually posted either in Discord servers or on speedrun.com. Or you can go to the speedrun server for it, and there's a lot of people that talk about learning the speedrun, talking about individual strategies for like getting through different parts faster, or you can ask questions about like, hey, how do I set up this game to speedrun it? And then you have to think about like if you plan to stream this, right? If you plan on streaming or recording, how do you go about capturing footage? And some people who like to run retro games like will be very dedicated and still run on a CRT TV. Like my partner, he runs mostly 2D Zelda games, And he uses both what we call an upscaler, like the RetroTink line of products that allows you to like put it on a modern monitor or change the signal from like composite or component to HDMI to be captured via a capture card. But he also splits that signal. That's getting into some nitty gritty stuff. Splits the signal with his CRT so he can actually still play on his CRT because that's what he likes. But there are things like flash cartridges for retro consoles that have save state capabilities, which are great for practice. And then there's even if you don't have access to any old consoles, you don't need access to old consoles because there's things like Nintendo Switch Online, the SNES and NES Classic if you happen to have that kicking around, the Sega Genesis Mini, and other classic consoles. They have great libraries of really good games that often end up with a lot of resources, and you could choose from that library and it makes classic games more accessible. But there's also things like the Mega Man Legacy Collection or the Castlevania Anniversary Collection. Or even Sonic Origins, which is coming out in June, that are remasters of classic games that are available on modern PCs, and they're great options as well. So if you're an older speedrunner or a person who is older getting into speedrunning and you really want to play a classic game from your childhood, because it could be satisfying to beat a game that was really difficult for you, and learn the ins and outs to beat it quickly. There are ways to get into that on modern systems. You don't have to have retro consoles. If you want to, you can absolutely do that. But it's not necessary. But there's thankfully more and more resources now to make retro gaming sustainable. Well, you don't have to do any of that, which is great. It's like, hey, I'm just going to buy Sonic Origins, and that's going to be how I run, Sonic's 1, 2, 3, and Knuckles and CD going forward or something.
All right, so actually running a speed game. So really important thing to note, it takes time for anybody to get good. The world record holder was not the world record holder from day one when they started the game. So don't discourage if you're not great, because so much speed tech, a whole bunch of strategies that are found. If you try to emulate the world record run, there are so many frame perfect strats or just ridiculously timing required, setups required, or very precise motions and movements in order to pull off, or just an immense amount of concentration that by themselves, single strategies could take, dozens of hours before you've actually mastered it. But often, most of the time, there are beginner-friendly strategies that aren't quite as fast. They aren't optimal. They may be, for example, in Link to the Past. We keep on going to this one, but there's a lot of data on that. There's optimal rooms, because if you can imagine a retro Zelda game, you are transitioning the screen between areas. And optimal rooms are the number of frames it takes with the perfect strategy to get through a room. And for an example, the optimal strat for one random room is 150 frames. But there's this thing you can do that's way, way easier, but it takes you 156 frames. So you're losing a literal tenth of a second by not doing the optimal strat, but it's actually quite a bit easier. And old, heavily optimized games like the original Mario Brothers, Super Metroid, Link to the Past, just the big ones. Every single room, every single screen has a strategy for it. There's an optimal strategy, there's beginner-friendly strategies, so you can basically pick and choose your difficulty as you go through. You start beginner-friendly, then maybe that gets too easy and you want to save some time, and you can go through and start implementing harder and harder strategies as you go. But just take that at your own pace and don't get discouraged. And live splits, which is the program most speedrunners use, you can split your run into individual segments, and you can track your progress. Maybe your early game is improving quite a bit, and you could go through, monitor your runs against your personal bests as you get more and more runs and history loaded into the program, basically as you do runs. And you could see which areas you need to focus on, which areas you're weak, which areas you are strong. If you're constantly hitting the early game, you don't need to really practice that too much. You can just go straight into later game stuff and, worry about the situations where the run, quote unquote, dies. That's the unrecoverable trick that you may have implemented that, is so catastrophic if you lose it that any run that fails that is not going to PB. So you laser focus on that and just try and practice until you can get it down.
Yeah, and the we showed Live Split earlier. The one that was on the previous slide is a Android app called Frame Perfect. If you can't use Live Split or don't want to use it for any reason, try out Frame Perfect. That is the icon to the right of the Live Split logo, and the setup that we have like right below it. That is a screenshot of that app in motion. So take a look at that if you want to use your phone as a timer.
Good old 12-hour challenge.
Yeah, so let's say you still don't know what you want to run. Like, you've heard all this information, you're like, I still don't know what I want to do, and there's a bunch of different options. We're about to get into, like, a lot of nitty-gritty here. So the first thing I recommend people start with is the 12-hour challenge. This is a thing that I've been doing a lot more recently because I've wanted to branch out and learn new games. You have 12 hours to learn a speed run and complete a run of it, and it does not have to be 12 hours in one sitting either. The last two challenges I did were, like, I did, like, 2 6-hour days, and then I did the second challenge I did was 3 4-hour days, and I did all that on stream because I like streaming the process, the learning process, which can be important for some people. I actually got someone inspired in my Twitch chat to pick up their first speed game, which was Super Mario 64, and I was learning Sonic Blast on the Sega Master System of all games. And if you have ever played that game once, you probably don't like yourself, but that's getting into another, a whole other color, a horse of a different color. But the 12-hour challenge is a biannual thing. It often has themes that you can choose to follow. I think the theme that we had as recently as February of this year was Saving Your Beloved, where it could be a game where you're trying to rescue a damsel in distress, or maybe you're Kirby and you're trying to save the food that was stolen from you, or you're Donkey Kong and you're trying to play Donkey Kong Country, saving the banana horde from King K. Rool, various like things like that. A friend of mine, Mendezi, learned Rugrats Search for Reptar on the PS1 because clearly Reptar is Tommy Pickles' beloved. So
yes,
you can also choose to ignore the theme like I did. That was the Sonic Blast 12-hour challenge I did, and there ain't no saving anything there unless like you're rescuing the Chaos Emeralds, but I didn't bother with that. But
I did Metroid Fusion, which was not saving anything either.
But like, you don't have to wait for the challenge to start either. Like, so there's one in February and usually one in the fall as well. But like, you can always check the info for current and past themes at this website here. It's golden with a 1.com/12-hour challenge. And if you check out Golden's website, that's Golden right there.
Yeah, it's not a stock image. That's Golden.
Yeah, that's Golden himself. He created the challenge as a way to get other people to collaborate, and there's a whole tag on Twitch called 12-hour challenge because of him. And you can use that and stream and find other people learning games and stuff like that. It's really fun, and it's a really easy way to get into running a game. I have a whole spreadsheet of games I want to learn and like do 12-hour challenges for, and I've actually learned like 4 of them this year, which is really cool. But maybe the 12-hour challenge isn't for you. And there's like well, what other options do I have? Words are hard. Video games are hard. If we move to the next slide, you'll see that there's even more options. So here's something if you want to do something with your friends. Here's what we call improv races. Maybe you're excited for a new game to come out. Maybe it's like I would say Kirby and the Forgotten Land, but that's already out. What else is another game that people are excited about coming out? Maybe it's the Klonoa remakes, Klonoa Phantom Reverie series. Maybe you've never played Klonoa before and you're excited about it, and you've got a group of friends that are excited about it too. Get them together and try racing it with having no prior knowledge of the game. You can do that with old games too. So like if you've never done a playthrough of like, let's say Mega Man 1 on the NES, and you have some friends who are interested in it, maybe you could do first playthrough races as well. And there's entire tournaments called like Cuso Grande and the Mystery Funhouse tournaments, and they revolve around like races of games that participants haven't played before. So we call those like improv races, unspoiled races, like first playthrough, stuff like that. You don't have to know a game to attempt a speed run of it at all. Like there were a group of people when Celeste, a very popular indie game, came out. There were people like Spike Vegeta, who we talked about earlier, or J Hobbs, and a few other people like doing races of Celeste without really having any knowledge of the game because it had just come out.
I improv raced somebody when Celeste came out, and I did it all in one sitting. And my thumb, because I don't know, has anybody in the audience played Celeste at all? People know this thing exists. Oh, all right, okay, all right, I'm happy. Yes, let's go. So Celeste is a pretty difficult game and has a lot of like intense platforming. So I went through that game in one sitting, and I had like callus and blisters on my thumbs.
Sounds right.
Because like we were frantically just going around trying to do it, and I was like, I haven't played the game since because I injured myself playing it. So don't do that. Take care of yourself. Know when to stop if you're starting to hurt somewhere. Please take a break. Don't do what I did and go through Celeste all in one sitting like that. So
it's actually a thing that GDQ Hotfix does, is we actually ask runners to take wellness breaks during our shows so that the host or the production staff or even the runners and commentators can take care of themselves. There is actually an entire GDQ Hotfix show that's based around improv races every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, so that would be 4 p.m. Local time here, and it's called The First Step, and it's hosted by J Hobbs and Keyzeron, and they get together and they pick a game and they do one playthrough usually prior to the show airing, and then they try to race it. Like, so they do their casual playthrough or most of their casual playthrough on their own streams, and then they meet on GDQ's channel and host a show that's based around racing each other in games that they've only played through once or sometimes have never played at all. And it's a really fun way to get involved in going fast in a game. Now, this is, I see Saku's ears perking up. This is Saku's stage right here. These are randomizers. Here's something a little more outside the box, and I'm going to let Sakura take the stage for this.
Yeah, absolutely. Randomizers are a game mod that changes the location of items or abilities required to complete the game and shuffles them, rendering what's normally a mostly linear game into a new experience each time you play it. You can imagine taking your favorite game, basically tipping all of the items into a bucket, shaking that bucket around, and then dumping those back into the game, into new spots. Randomizers can be older games like things like A Link to the Past, Super Metroid, or newer games like, for example, Elden Ring, which just came out, already has a randomizer for it, where the things in the game have been shuffled to new spots. So if you have a game that you love to play and you want to try a new experience of it, look online to see if it has a randomizer. You might be surprised what you find. Amber had mentioned earlier to try Googling the big list of video game randomizers, because there is a lot on that.
Yeah, it's usually the first result, and I check that like monthly to see what new randomizers have come up, because I actually started like getting really deeper into speedrunning through Pokemon Randomizer. I did Pokemon Red and Blue for a long time, and now I do a lot of Pokemon Crystal. And I do a few other randomizers too, but like Pokemon Crystal's my big one. And if there's a game that you want to replay over and over again, randomizers are like such a good way to do it, because it's endless replayability while making the game still feel fresh. And you don't even have to speed run it. You could just do a casual playthrough of a randomizer too, and like that will give like a game new breath. And there's a lot of people who do like speedrun tournaments. Like we have a couple of screenshots here of like an Ori the Blind Forest randomizer tournament. And then there's also the Super Metroid item randomizer tournament. But there's things like Pokemon Crystal key item randomizer, Link to the Past, Zelda Ocarina of Time, like you name it. If it's a really popular game, it's probably got a randomizer.
Yep.
Like I know that, yeah, there's a few others that you can list as well, Saku.
Yeah, and one of the other cool things about randomizers is it's opened up new ways to also play with your friends. So, for example, we have Ocarina of Time Randomizer, which was mentioned. Well, Ocarina of Time Randomizer now has a new thing where it's called Ocarina of Time Online, where you can take a randomizer game, so all the items are shuffled around in this single game, and you can have multiple people playing together. So I can play with Fant and Amber if they were both in my game, and we could see each other running around collecting items. We all share inventory for like if I pick up the bow, then Fant gets the bow, and Amber also gets the bow. And it's pretty cool, a new way to play with your friends and, you know, experience these older games, as well as something called a multi-world, which is if all three of us were playing, again, Ocarina of Time, where we could have I would play a single game, Vant would play a single game, and Amber would play a single game, and all of our items would be shuffled together into each other's games, and it's chaotic and fun, and yeah, there's a lot of cool different randos that you could do, and play either on your own or with friends. Yeah. And you might think that you have to be very familiar with a game in order to play a randomizer, but there's a lot of tools that these games have in order to make it more accessible for everyone. There's difficulty settings on most randomizer websites. So if you want something to have maybe more items so that you don't spend as long looking for them, or you don't have something showing up in a difficult location, you might be able to duplicate the item pool. So instead of having one bow in the pool, you have two. And so you're more likely to find it and less likely to have to do something that you really don't like doing in the game. As well as there's tools like trackers. Particularly, there's one called Emo Tracker that basically it'll show you all available checks in the game based on what you have or haven't picked up yet. So it's really handy, something that I definitely recommend if you're going to play a randomizer that you use a tracker to start, because it really helps you find out, what do you need for what location and stuff. And you might be surprised as how you can navigate around the world that you didn't know of before with Randomizer. But for instance, I played A Link to the Past randomizer before I actually ever played A Link to the Past, the regular game. So like that shows you don't need to play the regular game first in order to play a randomizer. You can just start with a randomizer if you have the right tools that you need in order to do so.
Awesome. And like the options just like never really ends. There's so many different ways to play your stuff. So randomizers are a type of mod or hack for a game. But there's also a whole bunch of different things, like the Super Mario World game has a whole bunch of like Kaizo hacks for it, where people will kind of re-theme the game and make their own levels, kind of like Super Mario Maker 2 can. And while that's probably the most famous type of like ROM hack, are these like ultra difficult games, not everything is super hard or has that characteristic Kaizo difficulty. So there's like people who ROM hack games that like are not difficult. It's just something that's super interesting. For example, I don't know if anybody has heard of this, but somebody made a Banjo-Kazooie mod that was Ocarina of Time. So they made the entire Ocarina of Time map, dungeons, everything, except it's in the Banjo-Kazooie engine, and you're going through and playing as Banjo-Kazooie with all the movesets. It's called Ocarina of Time, I think Jiggies of Time.
And yeah, it's Banjo-Kazooie Jiggies of Time by Kirko Mods.
Yeah, it's like you go in, Kakariko Village is like an entire world now. It has 10 puzzle pieces in it. You got musical notes placed. It's a full-on, ground-up recreation. One that came out recently was like Ocarina of Time Gold Quest, which is kind of a difficult ROM hack of Ocarina of Time. But there's so many different ways to do that. And, as with everything, there's a lot of people that like to do weekly races of like different ROM hack mods. And fan games, I know, Amber, you like this topic. So.
Yeah, so I actually mostly run, I do a lot of Sonic fan game runs as well. I run Sonic Time Twisted as shown here. It's a 2D Classics fan game. I'm not going to linger too long on this topic because there is one more slide that I definitely want to get to before we take some Q&A, just for a few minutes, but or answer any questions y'all might have. But Sonic Time Twisted, there's a mod, what I run right now is Sonic Adventure 2, is a Sonic Adventure 2 mod called Dash Adventure 2, where it explores the concept of what if Sega had gone with the rabbit concept art for Sonic instead of the hedgehog that we know today. And there's like new physics, new characters, new movesets, and it makes the game flow in a way that I find extremely enjoyable and like breathed new life into that speedrun for me, even though I've run it for like over 6 years. So like picking up that in the last like 6 months or so was like really, really rewarding, because it was like familiar ground, but like brand new at the same time, because I got to learn all sorts of new skips and stuff that the new physics allowed for. But AM2R, so Return of Samus, is another example of a fan game that, like, you know, has a speedrun community as well. And, you know, you can find stuff like that. Those are also valid speed games. But speaking of valid speedrunning and speed games, there is a very important question to ask and answer. Is speedrunning accessible? Well, yes, it is. So the first thing I want to say is that you don't want to let people act as elitist or gatekeepers in the hobby, putting you down because you're not good enough. Remember, speedrunning is not all about world records, first and foremost. Like, do not put limitations on yourself. Words like, I could never do that, are negative, and they're very limiting. And a lot of things you see as a viewer on Twitch are easier than they seem because of various strategies involved, or like a lot of time invested into the game. Like setups, visual or audio cues, etc. Like stuff like that exists and allow like runners who are seasoned or new, like, you know, pick up speed games a lot easier than you might think. Or if you have a disability, whether it's physical or, you know, audio visual processing like I have, you can always still find games that allow you to speedrun through methods like controller or keybind remapping. Celeste is a very good example of this, or even like accessibility controllers, companies like Evil Controllers and the Microsoft Xbox Adaptive Controller, or even custom-made controllers for the tech-savvy. Some people do make their own controllers. Or games with colorblind and photosensitive modes, like Celeste, or I think even Tunic, which is a brand new indie game, has that as well. But like, I have wrist problems like RSI carpal tunnel, and I have like audio and visual processing issues. And I've been told before that, you know, I shouldn't be speedrunning if I have complications like that, for example. And that's simply not true. Like, there is something for everyone. And the speedrunning community has many, many roles for people such as tool-assisted speedrunning, glitch hunting, routing, commentators, event organizers. That's where I found my main home in speedrunning. And it isn't just for people who run the games and submit runs to the leaderboards that are considered part of the community. There is a lot more going on behind the scenes. And that is a very important thing. Like, even if you find out, oh, grinding a speed game isn't for me, I don't like going for PBs or going for world records or going for anything on the leaderboards, but I like doing, you know, individual levels, or I like finding glitches in the game to help the community. Those are very, very important roles. And without roles like that in the background, the speedrunners that are on the leaderboards wouldn't be on the leaderboards where they are today. So, like, there is something for everyone in this community, even if it is something as simple as just, like, very casual speedrunner who really prefers to watch. Like, stuff like that is okay, too. But, like, basically, like, in conclusion there's many communities of people that are willing to help with a lot of games, old and new. Resources are easily available if you know where to look, and it's easy to network and make natural relationships with people playing the same games. So it's a great, you know, place to meet others and, you know, be able to watch other people grow to be better speedrunners than, you know, when they started. So, like, I know that we have a few minutes left. If anyone has any, like, questions or anything like that, like, this is a great time to, like, get up to the mic and ask them. But also, I'd like to just, I did see a Discord question come through in the OffKai Expo Discord saying, what are your favorite categories to run typically? Anything besides any percent?
And really quick, while we do this, we're going to have just a background video playing of a speedrun of Tunic that Amber's partner has put together. It's like the former world record or something in under 21 minutes.
He still holds the world record, but it's now under 21 minutes. But this is like a low 21 or something. But this is a great game that has like exploded in speedrunning. But to answer the question in the Discord channel, like, what are your favorite categories to run typically? I actually really like completionist categories. Not like super heavy completionist, but like my first like big event that I organized for GDQ Hotfix was actually Sonic and the Shiny Things, which actually banned any percent categories. We only took categories that would collect all of the shiny MacGuffins, so all the Chaos Emeralds or Soul Emeralds or Time Stones. And we actually only took those categories, and we do a, you know, a specific like set of new like category restrictions every year. Like it was shiny things, which was only emerald collecting, or the following year was side quests, which were any sort of extracurricular things like emblem collecting in the Sonic Adventure series, or like mission mode in Sonic Adventure 1, or the DX remake rather. And then this year we did glitchless. We actually did Sonic in the Glitchless Gauntlet, which was only glitchless runs rather than your typical glitched any % runs. And those tend to be some of my favorite categories.
Mine are the meme.
Go ahead, you take it first. Yeah.
Sorry, mine are the meme categories. Anything with like I said, I mentioned earlier, Kuko % is a pretty big one. I enjoy. Blue Cane %, a lot of like Link to the Past stuff, because that's like my main thing. Besides, of course, like the typical PC any %, which was my first Final Fantasy speedrun. But yeah, it's mostly meme categories are my thing that I enjoy.
Yeah, meme categories are definitely fun. One of my favorite runs is for Super Metroid. It's called the Nintendo Power %. So speedrunners have like optimized the heck out of Super Metroid, finding like every frame you can save, and still new stuff is found. But back in the 90s, there was a guide from Nintendo Power that said this is how you defeat Mother Brain as fast as possible, collecting the least amount of stuff. And it has like a big warning. It's like, warning, this run skips a lot of like energy tanks and other stuff, so it's really, really difficult. So proceed at your own risk. And it gets like 3 times as many energy tanks as the actual, glitchless 80% run. And the route is just horrendous. It's really, really bad. Like, you don't have to be a speedrunner to know that some of the backtracking that route makes you do is inefficient and very inefficient and slow and just costs so much time. It doesn't take an expert to see that. But the rules of that category are you have to collect everything in the order that the Nintendo Power Guide says to. So you go through, you follow it directly. How you go between those items is up to you, but you have to collect them in that order. There's another similar route called Club Nintendo %, which is like a Spanish language magazine. And I did it. We have this GQ hotfix show called No Category Left Behind, run by Nukes. And that one just focuses on weird categories like this. And I did a Club Nintendo % run for them there. That was a blast. But outside of that, goodness. I generally prefer doing glitchless runs because I like seeing a lot of the game. But that doesn't mean I will not, delve into the realm of glitches. So like A Link to the Past is one of the most broken video games ever. And there are so many things you could do with manipulating the memory of that game to cause you to go underneath the floor and warp around and, collect different dungeon rewards. Like you go in, you enter Hyrule Castle, then you glitch through a wall and you fight land molas, and then they drop the Ether Medallion for some reason. And it's just so bizarre how all this stuff manages to work without the game crashing. Like, how does this game work despite how horribly we're breaking it? And there's this, if you don't know how to do it and you want to impress your friends at a party, the Link to the Past any % run, God, we keep on leaning on Link to the Past, Saku. There is a very, very easy way. There's a very, very easy way to beat that game in under 5 minutes, even if you have no speedrunning knowledge whatsoever. You can go from never playing that game to beating it in under 5 minutes with like a very, very easy set of tricks you can do to get under the floor and basically walk past Ganon and into the credits room, and you roll the credits without, I think, killing 1 enemy tops.
You don't kill any. You literally walk through the castle, jump down off a ledge, save and quit, get hit by a guard which will knock you through the wall, and then you just walk literally into the Triforce room. It takes no time and it's so easy. You'll be like the coolest person at the party just showing off this trick.
Yeah, next time you're having a meetup for Thanksgiving or Christmas and your uncle is bragging like, hey, I can beat Link to the Past in under an hour. And you just go look up that 80% run and it's like, oh, that's cute. That's adorable. Well, pass me the controller, because it's definitely a realistic situation.
I mean, it is at my family gatherings. I don't know about yours, but
we have one quick question I just want to answer really quick before we run out of time. Someone is asking, any tips for interacting with chat while streaming a speedrun? It's actually a really, really good question. That is a skill that builds up with time. It is really, really difficult at first. I actually recommend running things like, first and foremost, don't expect a PB. But like, it is a skill to like be able to interact with chat efficiently. In fact, one of my skills is to like interject what is usually an expletive in the middle of me talking casually to chat. And then I just like, you know, I'm like, yeah, so like the way you do this trick is that you go over here and then, you know, insert string of expletives here because something went wrong. And then, you know, I immediately pick up the sentence as if nothing had happened. And that is a thing that I've built up over like the last 11 years of streaming. But I really recommend speedrunning things that you're very familiar with first. And that'll help you start to build that up. Or doing things like just randomizers, stuff that doesn't have like a really hard timer, right?
Yeah. And even though you might have like a goal or whatever else, you know, if the goal for you is to, you know, play your favorite game fast while also ultimately interacting with chat to the best that you can, that is another goal that you can make as your speedrunning goal. You don't have to, you know, be the best at a specific time. If you want to, you know, make friends and be a streamer and interact with chat, then that is a definite goal that you can do as well.
Yeah, it is difficult because if you're just starting out streaming, you're multitasking. If you're commentating what you're doing and you are reading what people are saying to you, so you're processing that, and you're playing a game at the same time. So your brain is doing three things. And honestly, just doing it more, forcing yourself to do it, to talk and, you know, try and look at chat. You're going to mess up. I do this all the time. I've been speedrunning for years. And so many times I'll glance over at chat, think about something, come back, immediately forget what I'm doing, and then fail a run. So, you know, that's gonna be something that happens. There's not much to, you know, help specifically with that other than practice. So, you know, that's what I got. If you like have a mod there, like getting channel point predictions in, if you're streaming on Twitch, is a good thing to do. It's like get people invested. It's like betting is like, oh, you know, will we see X time? Will we see this run make it past this? Like I know there's a couple people doing like Kaizo Ironmon, which is like a challenge for Pokemon about, you know, artificially restricting yourself on a whole bunch of rules. And every single run, a channel point bet goes up as like, will this run make it past like Brock? Will it make it past the Rock Cave if you're looking at like Red and Blue? So there's a whole bunch of stuff there. But we have another question. That's viewers love watching running streams, but how do you help keep people interested in things like routing or practice streams?
Yeah, so I've also answered this in the Discord, and we're about to run out of time. So I'm happy to keep answering questions in that Discord. If you haven't joined the OffKai Expo Discord, you probably should. And go to the panel room to chat, because I think we were the only panel in this room tonight. But basically, I talk through my thought process. I show myself taking notes. If I'm referencing a video, sometimes I show that video I'm learning from on stream. I think I speak out loud a lot. Whatever's in my head, I speak out loud. And I try not to linger on things that are causing me a lot of grief in the run because A, I'm learning. It's brand new, but like some people actually do genuinely find this really interesting. Yes, there are people who just only want to watch runs, but like those are not who you're streaming for in that instance. What you're streaming for in that instance is for people to know that like the learning process is a real thing. Like speedrunning doesn't just happen overnight. You have to learn things. Without that, you can't get a PB. You can't even get a time in the first place, right? If you want, like, at least a time that you would want to take any, you know, serious in any capacity. But Yeah, like that's just yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at. Just like talk as if no one is watching. Like assume no one is watching. People will be watching. Like there is an audience for everything on Twitch, as I have come to learn. So like whether it's like me futzing about in like in Klonoa Door to Phantom Isle, which was my most recent 12-hour stream, or 12-hour challenge, or it's like me doing a randomizer of Pokemon Crystal. There are people who are there to just chill, and some people like to lurk. So like even if it seems like people aren't interested because they're not interacting in chat, it doesn't mean that they're not interested in at least listening to the process or watching the process.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and add on to that. They haven't kicked us out yet. There's no panel after us, so I'm gonna go unless I hear a complaint.
They're definitely praying in the
They're praying, yeah.
So
okay,
we should be wrapping it up.
Oh shoot! Dang. Anyway, I'll just do this one really quick. So we got a question of, have you ever wanted to try speedrunning games with RNG? I don't know if you've heard of this game called Super Mario RPG. There's this category called low level, where you have the entire run is RNG, 100% of the run. You beat a boss. There's an item in the game where you beat a boss, and it has a 50% chance of triggering a mini game where you can double your coins or double your XP. So one, you have to ensure that game happens. Two, you have to roll double the XP for the minigame. You can't roll double your coins, because otherwise your XP doesn't go to 0. And three, you have to roll a complete random 1 in 3 chance to pick wrong, which reduces your XP to 0, in order to do low XP there. So the entire run, every boss, you have to go through that 1 in 6 in order to get it. And there's one situation at the end that is a 1 in 18 chance. It's Boomer X-Source, the big sword before you go into the factory, where you have a 1 in 18 chance of rolling all the dice in order to make it through with no XP. I beat that boss, I think, 37 times in order to get that RNG to roll. So yes, it can be fun. It can also be frustrating. Just know that it comes with the territory. Yep. All right. If I think we are getting yelled here to stop here, so I think we're gonna wrap it up. So I'm gonna go once more to our big screen here. I think we got this.
Yeah, let me actually remember to not have us in the void. One sec. I can do this. I have the right OBS up, I swear. That's my nameplate. No.
Yay,
there we go.
All right.
We got there. Thank you all so much for being here, and thank you, Fant, for inviting Saku and I on for this panel. There we go. I have my name on. There we go.
Mm-hmm. And if anybody has more questions that we can't get to right now because the panel is over, feel free to post them in the Panel 2 channel in Discord. I'll stick around for a little bit and answer literally any question you have until they stop coming in. So if you want to talk about anything, head in there, and we'll be around to talk for that.
Yeah, you can follow me at twitch.tv/AmberCyprian. You can follow Fant at Fant_TV. And Saku streams over at twitch.tv/SakuraTsubasa, and that's TS.
I got it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
TSUBASA for Tsubasa. But yeah, you can find all of us over at Twitter and Twitch at the links that you see right up here. So thank you all so much for being here. Keep talking to us in the Panel Room 2 chat in the Discord, and or reach out to us on Twitter or Twitch.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Love to see anybody here popping by. Yeah, we love talking to people, all three of us. So
yeah,
I can eventually get a heart going. There we go.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much.